minus 30 degrees, and it feels very, very cold indeed. And the hunters here are wearing their polar bear hats and got their very, very warm sealskin jackets on. But for us, we've got synthetic jackets on
On a cycling trip with our school cycling club, and we've gone to the Lake District. And on the way back on the train, we were reading through a newspaper article, and we just happened to see an article in there about the 50th anniversary of Everest. And for no particular reason, we both thought the same thing, and we looked at each other and thought, I know, let's try and climb Everest, why not? And we got back to school and we started researching it on the internet, started trying to find out what we need to do, what skills we need to learn to be able to get to the summit.
Our friends, our family all thought we were pretty mad, and so when people were negative about it, we just used it as motivation. At 7,800 metres, we started using supplementary oxygen, and we were stopping camps for the weeks before, and when we were ready for our summit attempt, it took us a week from base camp.
But the next morning, when the sun rose and we were able to look over the ridge, it was just the most incredible view. We could see the Himalayas spreading out from east to west, and we were able to see the curvature. Finally, we arrived at the summit. Instead of actually being able to enjoy it, we were actually just completely exhausted, and all we could think about was how we were going to get.
Mountaineering is all about calculated risk, and no more so on Everest.
When we finally got back home, instead of feeling a sense of achievement, we both felt very, very low in ourselves. We'd had this dream which had been with us for 3 years since we were 16. So after about 9 months of hard work, having returned from Everest, we finally got everything into place. And it wasn't easy. We had to set up an office in the UK. We learned so many different skills. We started to learn skills about management. We started to learn how to work with people and try and motivate our own staff to really get on. Let's break it down into different expeditions. And so the expedition in itself actually broke down into kind of 6 smaller expeditions. And by making these smaller goals, we're able to motivate ourselves more easily.
So in 2007, in the spring, the ice that year melted at an unprecedented rate, and that had a big effect on us. And instead of being able to ski around the headland, we had these poles. We were pulling about 100 kilos of our own kit, so we're totally independent, skiing around. And we wanted to get far south down to a place called Pernavik, which is a small
road together. We both fell down the same crevasse. And it's moments like this where it's very easy to panic, and so it was just critical that we were able to keep a calm head and just think slowly and calmly about how to get out of this. The Arctic sea ice has actually thinned by about 50% in the last 20 years, and in areas it's reduced in area by 30 to 40% in the last 10 years.
When I was on the dog sled, it was quite a warm day, so my outer glove was just tucked in under one of the sealskin ropes. I bent down, I went to pick it up, and I fell through the ice. So luckily I hit my head on the way in, but my clothing is snagged on the ice, which stopped me from being sucked under the ice. James was several hundred metres ahead at this point. He could see this whole scenario unravelling, and he sprinted over as fast as he can in very, very awkward thermal boots, and he hauled me out. I'd actually been face down in the ice for 3 to 4 minutes by this time and was unconscious. Was able to call on the satellite phone the emergency helicopter, which was at the American Air Base at Toul. Sadly, that was having maintenance at the time. We got to this hospital. It took me about a week to recover. And meanwhile, a yacht from Southampton was sailing to take us on the next stage, so we were going to sail all the way to New York.
We sailed past one of the most productive places in the world. You never get more than about 2.5 hours of sleep at a time. You're just completely exhausted. Then we were going to have to start extra time as well to watch the radar screen to make sure we weren't going to go into any icebergs, and to cook and obviously clean as well. So, I mean, we really were just falling apart. We were so exhausted. But it was a very, very rewarding time as well. We saw some amazing wildlife. We were lucky enough to see whales, to see seals, to see some amazing birds, and it was a truly remarkable experience. While we were sailing, we just had 24 hours of sunlight, so it was just incredible skies. And as we started to get further down, and the sky started to darken, we actually got the northern lights. So, I mean, it was a very, very special moment, but equally very exhausting.
We eventually sailed up the Hudson River into New York.
But our first few weeks on the bike were plagued by injury. After being on the boat for a month, our legs were just withered. And so starting on the bike, we both had niggling problems. Rob actually had to have steroid injections into his heel because he had such bad Achilles tendonitis. The toughest thing about being in the States was just the temperature. We had a temperature of 48 degrees centigrade. It was the hottest, they had the hottest recorded temperatures ever in the States last year. And so that was pretty tough to cycle. Now we had 2 weeks for 40 degrees centigrade every single day, and we were drinking up to about 10 litres of water a day just to keep ourselves hydrated.
We were lucky to have some really great technology with us, and to be able to update the website every single day was a really important aspect to us. We had a small Inmarsat terminal, which meant that we had broadband internet anywhere in the world.
We carried on going down to South America, and towards the end it became a real struggle. Once again, we were fighting to get the finance together for the yacht Blizzard. And we would be doing 12 hours a day on a bike to cycle over 100 miles. We were desperately trying to catch up time.
I think for us, when we set out for New York and we had the prospect of 11,000 miles in front of us, hoping to get to Punta Arenas in southern Chile for, say, the end of January, it just seemed an unbelievably long, daunting task. But the fact is, when we broke it down into small, achievable chunks, each day became an objective. Each week then became another objective. We had the next step ahead of us. I was dreading seasickness, but we managed to get Blizzard all together, and we were really, really looking forward to the last leg of the journey.
Blizzard is a 67-foot aluminium schooner, so a 2-masted boat, and she was absolutely built for the job. She's an expedition yacht, and she was kitted out with everything we need. And to begin with, we were moving very slowly, but we were actually very, very frustrated. We had this kind of completely unusual calm section of the Southern Ocean where literally it was just mill pond flat. And so we just weren't moving at all, and we had to just really kind of mentally visualise being in Sydney Harbour just to keep it going.
The Southern Ocean was much more about teamwork. We had to all pull together. One time we were probably getting 65, 70 knots of wind, and we had all the sails down because it was so strong. The swell was massive, probably 70 to 80 feet high, and so we've got a very long wavelength, but in terms of the wave height was huge. So we were surfing down these waves at often up to 25 knots, which is scary in itself. 35 tons of aluminium careering down this wave. So when we finally sailed through the heads of Sydney, we were just so overwhelmed by the whole experience, that almost this crescendo of emotion which we were going through.
From here, we're organising a lot of school talks. We want to use this expedition. We want to use the resources that we've been able to build up, and we want to go to schools and talk to kids and basically try and inspire them, try and show them that you don't have to be an extraordinary person. An ordinary person can achieve something which they consider to be extraordinary. We now have a little bit of video clip just to sum up the expedition.
Through 180 degrees, we really want to make people more aware of our environment.
Today was the last day that we're going to use public transport or any mode of transport for a period of 11 months.
As a wonder, was a meal that you were looking forward to when you came back, or any stories about food, what was sort of the low point food-wise?
I think the lowest point for me was in the Southern Ocean. After the knockdown, quite a lot of diesel had spilled over all our rice and pasta. But added to this, James still found it very, very difficult to cook the most simple pasta dish. And I tell you, when you're seriously hungry, when you've been bored and the only thing to look forward to in the day is a good meal, the fact that he managed to overcook some pieces of pasta and dramatically undercook other pieces, I just thought it was just the most remarkable achievement. So, I mean, that was by far the worst meal I've ever had.